Because the NCAA Wrestling Championships were canceled this year, there's a story that may be sliding under the surface, sliding under the rocks that you may not hear about. But that's exactly why I wanted to bring it up. Because in my opinion, it's just corruption. So let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name's Josiah, and welcome to Fanco Wrestling. On this channel, we talk all about wrestling news, tips, and lifestyle. And just because the NCAA Wrestling Championships were canceled doesn't mean that we're going to stop talking wrestling. So, what is this story that I'm talking about? Who is this wrestler that could be hurt by the Corona Redshirt? Well, first of all, what is the opposed Corona Redshirt? What is that? What does that mean? Well, this is something going around the internet right now because, the biggest question now that the NCAAs were canceled is, are these wrestlers going to receive a year of eligibility, an extra year that they can wrestle in NCAAs? And there's nothing confirmed yet, nothing has happened yet, but the biggest thing is that only the qualifiers may receive that extra year of eligibility. And if that is the case, then there's one wrestler who's going to be hurt big by it. Yes, there are many wrestlers that could be hurt big by it, but there's one wrestler in particular that, like I said, this is a story of corruption and a story that I believe is very important to tell. So what is this story? Well, at the Big 12 Wrestling Championships, at the Big 12 Conference, the coaches got together before the tournament began, and they said, we're not going to wrestle a true eighth match. We're not going to wrestle true eighth because there's only one weight that qualifies these 8 wrestlers. There's only one weight that has this, and that's 133 pounds. So just whoever makes the 7th and 8th place match, they both will advance to the NCAA Wrestling Championships. That's just how it's going to be. The coaches predetermined that going into the tournament. So, who is this wrestler? This wrestler that was hurt by this is Lucas Siebert of West Virginia. Now, let me explain exactly how this happened. So, Lucas comes into this tournament unseeded. He's an unseeded wrestler. He comes into his first match. Okay, he loses to Schwartz of Northern Colorado, first round. Okay. Well, Schwartz goes on to upend and defeat the number 1 seed and Taylor Lamont of Utah Valley. This is where things start getting tricky. They get into the wrestlebacks. Siebert defeats Van Vliet of Air Force. Then he loses to UNI. So this means he's going for 7th and 8th place. And essentially he's going to make it to the national tournament. Well, not quite, because then we talk about Taylor Lamont, who's very instrumental and very key in this because he was the number 1 seed of Utah Valley. He lost to Schwartz first round. He wrestled his next match in the wrestlebacks to Whitcraft of Okie State, who beat him. So the number 1 seed went 0-2. He went 0-2, and now he's wrestling down in the 9th place matches. Okay. Well, we go on to day 2. And and weigh-ins happen, everything happens, goes along how it normally does, and Siebert wrestles for 7th and 8th. He ends up losing, and then he goes out to eat with his parents. So he goes out to eat with his parents because, hey, I'm making the national tournament. I'm going to the nationals, and I'm pumped. So, I'm going out to celebrate with my parents. Wrestling's over. We're done. Okay. He goes out to eat. Well, then, this is where the coaches come back, and they say, you know what? This isn't really fair that Taylor Lamont, who is the number 1 seed, he goes 0-2, and why aren't we wrestling a true 8th place? Why aren't we wrestling for, in true 8th, essentially what that means is whoever comes in 9th place, if they hadn't wrestled somebody who wrestled 8th early in the tournament, they will wrestle to see who is 8th, and then those were the automatic qualifiers for the national tournament. Well, the coaches reconvened, and the tournament director said, okay, we're going to re-vote on this after the fact, during the tournament, and said, you know what, let's re-vote, let's see if there should be a true 8th. The coaches re-voted and said, yes, we're going to allow this match to happen. So Siebert's out with his family, he's out eating sushi, and he gets a call back from his coach, from Coach Flynn, and basically says, yeah, you have to wrestle again, you have to get back here and wrestle again. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? How are you going to allow this to happen during the tournament? If you coaches voted and said before, that was predetermined before the tournament, that that they're not wrestling this 7th and 8th place match, don't wrestle the 7th and 8th place match. Okay? If it was predetermined, that's what happens. That's what should happen. Now, why am I getting so worked up about this? Why do I think it's messed up? Well, maybe you're saying to yourself, Josiah, this is just an 8th place match. How big is a true 8th place match? Really, they're not good. These aren't going to be guys competing for a national title. Okay, maybe not. But the fact is, they would have had a chance to compete on the big stage. They would have been able to compete at the national tournament for the first time. Guys that maybe they don't ever make the national tournament again. But because they qualified, because they said all 8 places go, well, then they would have qualified. Well, then your question may be, okay, Josiah, nationals are canceled this year. Yeah, well, if all wrestlers who made the national tournament are given a year of eligibility, well, guess what? Siebert's not going to get that year of eligibility because he didn't qualify for the national tournament. And the other thing is, Taylor Lamont being the 1 seed, having some solid matches, as well as Todd Small, who is another guy in this bracket who actually received the wild card bid. Taylor Lamont probably would have also received the wild card bid and received those allocations and got into the national tournament without that 8th place finish. He could have received that wild card, and it just drives me nuts. I think this is horrible. I think it's corrupt. I think it's messed up. I think it's a story that had to get out there in the public. Please let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I think this is messed up. I think it's a story that deserves to be out in the open, and I think it's a story that, I needed to tell. So please let me know in the comments below what you think.